And welcome to the Crawford Podcasting Network for one of my favorite podcasts that I do throughout the late fall, early winter, into spring, hopefully into April for the
Yes.
Michigan Wolverine basketball team. I'm talking to number 40 out of Riviera Beach, Florida. His name is Richard Rellford. With many of bouncing inches off the floor, this dude could jump. Probably what was your vertical jump? Let's just get into that. Not
Uh,
now, but what was it, 30 years ago?
about a 40.
40-inch vertical
Yeah,
jump,
40. Yeah.
230 pounds, 6'6".
Right at 230.
I'm good for your ego, man. I'm
There you
telling you
go,
what.
man. Yes, you are,
Okay,
man. I appreciate you.
before we get into basketball and talk
Hmm.
about this 5-3 Michigan basketball team, which is, believe it or not, optically, these last two games have been losses, but I'm going to be positive today. I'm seeing some good things. I'm sure you're Mr. Positive, so you're not going to have any problem with that format. So we're going to go into that. But I want to get your reaction
Hmm.
to the 13-0 of your alma mater, the University of Michigan, 13-0 Michigan Wolverine football team. Your good friend Jim Harbaugh, who you went to school with in the mid '80s, is now doing. He's pushing all the right buttons on this team. What did you think about Saturday night and that win over Purdue?
Well, I got to tell you, after we beat Ohio State,
Yeah,
I text Jimmy and said, "Great job, Jimmy." And all he said back was, "God is good." That's all he
yeah,
texted
yeah,
back.
yes,
And
yeah,
so, to be honest with you, Tom, I was worried more about the Purdue game than I was the Ohio State game. And everybody
yeah,
says, why? Why? Because when you have such big wins,
yeah,
sometimes there's a letdown. And
yeah,
those are the ones that get you. And so
yeah,
everybody at work on Saturday was like, what's wrong? I was like, listen, we're not finished.
yeah,
Well, now we're finished. And
yeah,
we still have more to do. Listen, I am a JJ McCarthy fan to the
yeah,
end. For
yeah,
me, he's a legend. And so some
yeah.
people ask me, say, Rich, what do you mean he's a legend? All the great quarterbacks Michigan has had. And I said, in 20 years, none of them have beat Ohio State at the shoot,
Yeah,
except
that's true.
JJ.
Yeah, yeah.
JJ's
Drew
the only
Henson
one.
did. Yeah, Drew Henson did 22 years ago.
22 years ago.
That's a long
Yeah,
time. And
yeah.
this kid, it's like Harbaugh's talking about JJ uh, down in Indy after the game that he never gets nervous. I mean, you see it, and we've seen him in. I was at the game. I was sitting, relatively close to the bench, about 13 rows back, and when he threw that interception, and he's
Mhm.
coming out the field, and he's looking at the playthings with it with Harbaugh, and he's talking very busy. He doesn't show a lick of anxiety in his face, even though that was still the game was still the way Purdue was moving the football. There was a level of uncertainty right there, still, and but how did you feel as an athlete? Did you when you had some hard times?
Mhm.
What was your mental approach? Did you ever feel yourself getting anxious, or did you try to stay on an even keel like JJ seems?
Well, you try to stay at an even kill. That, to be honest, that's the one thing that I love about JJ is when you
Yeah,
look at his face, we got a
yeah,
4th and 1, fourth
yeah,
and four.
yeah,
He ain't sweating it at all. And
yeah,
I told somebody, well, we got JJ with Lamar Jackson legs
yeah,
because he that on 4th and 1 time I don't sweat it like I used to.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And so now I just got confidence that I believe that Jimmy and them will be playing in the national championship game against Georgia. That's how I feel.
I do too. Now, how would you feel if it was against Ohio State? Not to
I
get
would
ahead of TCU.
I would love it every I
Bring
would
it.
love it even more. I would be bringing it because I told somebody just this the other day. Has it ever been a Michigan Ohio State game for a national championship?
No, never.
There you go. This
Yeah,
would be the
never.
first and we'd be epic.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good question you pose because back in the they used to do the polls
Mhm.
before the bowl games, so your national champion was crowned at back into the '60s, and but no, there was never both Michigan and Ohio State were at the 1 and 2 level that they could be on January the 9th down or out in LA at SoFi Stadium, that magnificent stadium. But it was you as a former high school standout football player who could have
Mhm.
played football at the University. Bo Schembechler wanted you to try to play football at the University of
Mhm.
Michigan, but you stuck to basketball, and which was a
Yes.
good decision. But I mean, so I'm sure you appreciate that tight end play that
Listen,
Schoonmaker and and the young freshman.
well, my tight
Loveland
ends,
was number 18, Colson Loveland. See, he highballs. He reaches high, which Michigan receivers have. I'm not seeing a lot of highballing, like Richard Rellford did probably nice.
listen, Loveland is one of my favorite players
Yeah.
because he is at the tight end position. And I laugh now, Tom, because I always tell people, no, I would never have played football in college or in the NFL or anything. But from my time as a player, the one thing I can appreciate is toughness of football players.
Yeah.
I can appreciate it, and guys that are, because it's more than just toughness. It's you gotta be smart to play,
Yeah.
because you gotta be a little crazy too, because you gotta have another man hitting you, slamming against you is not easy. But
Yeah.
I really think that we have a really balanced attack. And I was talking to a friend about, Quorum wasn't playing. He said,
Yeah.
Rich, have you ever thought about Quorum's a great back,
Yeah.
but we feel that Edwards has more upside.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I guess you can, but I mean, I love Quorum, and what Edwards did is made you not even think twice about
Yeah.
it. He was unbelievable. And then, of course, all my friends from Detroit at Cass Tech, where he went to school at, well, he went to Bloomfield High. He didn't
We
go
were
to
in West
Cass.
Bloomfield.
He went
Yeah.
to West
Yeah.
Bloomfield. And all
Yeah.
my Cass Tech friends will say to me, uh, he had to be good if he went to Bloomfield High School. So I
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Well,
I'm good with that.
he played for Ronald Bellamy, the ex Michigan wide receiver, who's now a coach on the staff right now. Was his high
Oh,
school
really?
coach. And when you were when you were in or when you were in college rather,
Mhm.
I mean, Cass Tech fed a lot of athletes, football and basketball, the University of Michigan. I mean, that was a hotbed, and that's a brotherhood there at Cass Tech. They're always going to be talking smack.
Listen, and I love it because I meet a bunch of them. Like I said, Patrick Ford went to Cass Tech,
Oh yeah,
and
he did.
and
Yeah,
so
hey,
we go way back with those guys.
yeah. Okay, well, let's get back to basketball. I mean,
Yes,
if you'd asked me, prior to I was down at the Virginia game, on and the game that got over with at 11:45 p.m.
yes,
was crazy.
yes.
You didn't have to deal with this made for TV crap when you were playing,
No,
where you had to play so late. But I mean, that was a missed opportunity. Jed Howard, they just couldn't get that shot off. We'll talk about that briefly, and then also this Kentucky game. I'm actually after I've never felt more positive about Michigan basketball after two consecutive losses, considering who they're playing. The number
right.
three in the nation, Virginia Cavaliers, and then number 18 or 19, whatever they were, Kentucky Wildcats in London, no less. And now they got to hop on. They're flying back today to Ann Arbor, and then they got to go to hop on a plane again. Wednesday to go to up at the barn in Minnesota, and you know how difficult it is to play up
Yes,
there.
yes.
Um, but what's your gut feeling right now about this Michigan basketball team? What are the pluses and what are the things that have you concerned?
Well, I'm gonna start with my pluses
Okay.
because the last two games I've seen, Virginia and Kentucky, there's a lot of pluses.
Yeah.
First of all, the big time lottery pick for Kentucky was outplayed by Hunter Dickerson to me.
I thought so too.
Was
You're
outplayed.
talking about Oscar Sheboy, the
Yes,
number
Usher Sheway.
34. Yeah.
Hunter to me, our everything should run through Hunter
Yeah.
because when it runs through Hunter, it goes easier.
Yeah. It
Now,
does.
Jet Howard, we're gonna be lucky if we keep him 2 years. We'll be lucky
Yeah. Yeah. He's good.
because me and my friends, when we look at college players, we'll tell you if they make NBA type moves or not. Okay, the last shot that Jet had, that's a learning experience for him because he should have gotten off. No foul, no nothing. It
Yeah.
was it was a bad. You couldn't get the shot off. But everything up to there, I thought we looked really, really good. Yeah, we was losing the lead, but you playing a really Kentucky at one point was ranked number 2 in the country.
Yeah.
So it's not like there was a garbage team. I think
Right.
as time go, and I had to recognize the one kid that we got playing the point guard because big kid, I think he's a transfer. I like him, but I like Buffkin more. I
Oh,
think I think
yeah.
Buffkin should play the point because when Buffkin plays the point, we move better.
Thank you for saying that. I got in an argument with college buddy of mine about Michigan guy about
Mm.
a Buffkin because I mean he was I thought he was terrific. He had 11 points. He played a good floor game. I mean, yeah, he missed some shots, but
Ah,
and I'm not down. When it and I think what you're referring to with Jalen Llewellyn, the transfer
right, Llewellyn.
who got hurt, and I have been remiss in checking to see what the status of him is,
Mhm.
but from Princeton, and my only critique of Juwan Howard of his proceedings right now is the grad transfer thing. Now, I mean, the point guard is such a critical position in my mind, and it's like now, if Frankie Collins had stayed on board, I'm just one of these guys who likes freshmen pay their dues, play like Doug McDaniel's doing right now, get some work in, and then by the time maybe latter, sometime your sophomore year, you take over the reins, and I can give you countless examples of that. I mean, we'll just go. Derek Walton was one of those guys. Xavier Simpson was one of those guys. And look how that worked out so great. By the time that they were senior 4-year guys,
Right.
and Michigan, when you have a point guard newbie, just like last year, Devontae Jones, it took till almost February before he started clicking. Well, you can't afford that kind of time for the learning curve, right?
Listen, the point guard is the most important position on the floor.
It is. It is.
And me personally, my personal opinion, I'm done with the little guards. I'm done. I'm
Well, I
done
mean, Doug
because,
McDaniel's a little guard. He's 5'10".
right, listen, what do you plan on doing with the little guards? Just having them through college? Because they ain't going to the NBA like that.
Yeah.
Because the little guards are more, you breaking press with little guards. You
Yeah.
can break the press and things like that. But when you get to the Big Ten, we have big guards now in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
All these guys are huge now. And
Yeah.
for a newbie, for a new kid, okay, we Princeton. I understand the
Yeah.
stereotype. You're smart, but I guarantee your conference ain't the Big Ten.
Well,
And
it worked. Okay, so you had Mike Smith that worked.
right,
He was Columbia, and then Devontae Jones was Coastal Carolina.
right.
Another smaller school. So I think it worked. The first one worked, but I just wish there was more continuity. And Frankie leaving really hurt this team, in my mind.
Listen, no, it's not in just your mind. We saw it. We see it
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Uh, I wish Frankie would have stayed because me and you always talked about it.
Oh, we talked about him so much.
How
Yeah,
Frankie was the motor of it. When he came
yeah,
in, the speed of the game changed.
yeah.
And
It
I
did.
think Jawan he misses that. Not only that, I tell people this too. These kids that you have, maybe great kids and pretty, decent players, but what they don't have is the camaraderie that you had if Frankie had still been there.
Yeah,
These guys have been playing together 2-3 years. Well,
yeah,
you bring in new guys. You got new guys now, so everybody has to get to know each other. You're doing that by going to London and all that stuff, but
yeah.
you got to be clicking at the beginning of the Big Ten season.
Yeah, and the problem is you had 13 scholarship kids. 9 of them have not played at Michigan a minute. And so there's a transition. Now I remember last year, remember the struggles early on the year they lost to Seton Hall and
Yes,
that against the Big East opponent. They lost that Minnesota game where they played horrible on-ball defense. Um, and then late in the year they got drilled by Iowa, and Michigan was a legitimate bubble team. And what happens? They get into the tournament, even though they lost to IU in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. But then they go down to Indianapolis and they knock off Colorado State, a number 2 seed Tennessee, and they're in the Sweet 16 for the 5th straight time. And it seems like all is good. And
right.
but I wish. I mean, Michigan needs to win a legitimate basketball game, and in terms, I mean, beating a legitimate opponent, especially
Sure.
in the Big Ten, and
Yes.
that starts Thursday night with Minnesota. But the Virginia game really bothered me because they had that game in their grasp, and that's great for the resume building when it comes to Selection Sunday.
Yes. Yes. Uh, Listen, at first I said that we were young. I remember telling you this in the beginning.
Yeah,
Uh, the maturity comes. I'm like you when it comes to having to jail by having guys that you have. I love the transfer portal guys. I think it's a great opportunity because you're getting ready-made players.
Yeah, like Joey Baker, I think from Duke could be a Michigan missed perimeter shooting last year. Okay,
Yes,
that was
yes.
and obviously Juwan recognized that, and also I thought their overall defense last year was suspect, and they're showing a little bit of signs of that here and there now. But you got to get shooters, and Jet Howard is a flat out shooter. I mean, he's got a little Glenn Rice to him. I really think the way just he looks graceful just walking out on the floor.
Listen, uh, the first game that I saw Jet play, like I said, my son had told me about him at IMG, and I
Yeah,
said, okay, I'm not gonna pass judgment until I see this kid. And I saw him against Eastern and all those guys,
yeah,
and he could really shoot.
yeah,
But as of late, for me and my friends, he making NBA moves.
yeah,
And at 6'7", 6'8", you handle the ball like you're a guard,
yeah,
and you shoot the ball like Steph Curry from deep.
yeah,
And my thing is we gonna keep him for 2 years. And as good as he is, Tom, you already know my favorite is Hunter Dickinson. Without
yeah,
Hunter, we won't go anywhere. And so we
yeah,
have to. And I love that Hunter came back because I think he's gone after this year. But
yeah,
I'm glad he came back. Who's not better to learn from than Juwan Howard?
yeah,
You going into the NBA, you talking about a young man who's been in there 19 years. He's teaching you everything. I watch how he treats his kids when they come in and out of games.
yeah,
Uh, it always mattered to me, body language of kids when they come out of a game. I tell my
yeah,
kid this all the time. And all the Juwan kids come out with positive attitudes.
yeah,
And they're on the sideline, and his son is over there, and
yeah,
they're going absolutely crazy. So
yeah.
I love that. I love
Oh,
that.
and you know what? That's been I mean, Beeline had that on his team. I think
Yes,
Juwan's had that on his team.
yes.
Um, and that that's critical. It's probably a 9-man rotation when it comes down to it. Is Cheddar going to be one? I mean, I'm looking at all these other guys. Are they going to fill a necessary void in terms of depth? But the Llewellyn thing, and it's an opportunity for Doug McDaniel to develop. But you're right, and he's not a big guy. And Xavier Simpson was what 6'0",
Yeah,
or
he's about 6 feet.
yeah.
Well, I
I
thought he
mean,
was smaller than that, to
it's
be
a
honest with
couple.
you.
Doug McDaniel can flash he can flash the rail, man. He can take
Right.
it to the hoop.
But
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 he had a big three ball in this game.
he
This
sure
is a
did.
game they
Yes,
could
he
have won.
did.
They could have won this game, but you got to feed the beast. You got to feed Hunter Dickinson, and I mean he is so good. But and yet Hunter, what do you think Hunter Rich? Do you think that parlays in the NBA for him? I mean, you're a big follower of the NBA.
Uh-huh.
What does he have to do? I mean, could he be a 4-year guy at Michigan? As he
Listen,
continue to develop, or what?
let me explain. Hunter's going after this year.
Okay, but he might. I
You're
mean,
talking about a 7'1" kid who can shoot the three and is a beast on inside. I hear all the people on television talking about, oh, he could be a late first round or early second round. Hunter Dickinson's gonna be in the top 20 play.
you
To me,
think?
easy. Oh, easy.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to that one. I'm writing that one down, Rich.
Write it down. And
I'm
remember, I
writing
said
down
this to you. The one thing that you can't teach is what?
size.
There you go. He's 7'1", Tom. He shoot threes, and he weigh about 290 pounds or whatever
Yeah,
he weighs.
yeah,
You can't move him.
yeah,
And my thing is, I just like his touch with the ball. He makes
yeah,
great passes,
yeah. Oh, he's a
and
great
he's good.
guy. Now that I'll give you right. I'll give you a lot of on that one.
Mhm.
As a pivot man, I don't think Michigan's ever had a better
No,
pivot ball distributor
no,
ever.
ever.
Yeah,
I think he's the best passer that they've had as a big guy. And not
yeah,
only that, Tom, what I really love is in my neighborhood, we'll say, Hunter ain't no punk.
yeah,
Because Hunter Dickerson, I go in the alley with just me and him.
yeah, yeah.
Because he ain't scared of no one.
No, he's got
And
a lot of moxie
he,
to him. He doesn't back down.
right.
Um,
And so that helps, man. He's gonna be an NBA player. It's just a matter of time.
yeah. So So, the biggest thing that you'd like to see from this Michigan team moving forward in the Big Ten play Thursday night down at the barn. Let me ask you this: you played
Okay.
at the barn in Minneapolis before we get into the needs. Why is that so tough to play?
Their floor is elevated.
Yeah, that's the thing that stands out. So what do
Right.
you feel like you're going to fall off, or what is
No, no,
it?
no, no. It's not that. It's, I think because their fans are extra close as well.
Okay.
Because if you fall off, you're gonna fall into the fans, which is cool with us. But uh we won down there. I think we won down there most of my 4 years at Michigan. I don't
Yeah.
think we lost down there at
I
all,
know
really. Maybe once.
Butch Wade had a game-winning putback.
Yes, down there.
Oh,
Yep.
remember that?
Yep. I sure do.
Yeah. Oh, that was. I mean, minutes. That was that was an upset in the making.
Yeah.
Butch had a big putback in that game.
Yes.
Remember
Yes.
that game, like
Yes.
a
Yes.
250 game, slobber knocker game.
Yes. It
So
was.
it
It was
wasn't easy
crazy.
for you, even though that was your Big Ten championship. So that was
Yes.
number one your junior year, and
Yes.
um, yeah, I don't know what it is about Minnesota. This is not a minute. This is a winnable game. This is a Minnesota team. Michigan needs to be. I said the other night that Minnesota and Northwestern, those are two. I got Northwestern beat Michigan State up at the Breslin Center last. So
Really.
it's like the Big Ten is. You don't know what to expect. You got to be ready
You
to play.
you
Indiana
don't.
got drilled Saturday night at Rutgers. Okay, think about it. The only team that really jumps off like wow is Purdue with
Yes.
with Zach Edey, that big beast in the middle.
Let me explain. I told you Hunter Dickerson is an unbelievable big dude
Yeah,
in the Big Ten.
yeah,
But I'm gonna tell you, Edie at
yeah.
Purdue.
Oh my God. Oh my
Listen,
God. He's frightening. The
one of
way he's
my
playing
friends
is
called me from California,
yeah.
watching the game, watching the Purdue play. He said, "Rich, who is this Yao Ming dude in the middle?"
Yeah, I mean,
I said to him, "He is. You know what? He's big as Yao Ming, but you know what he does better?
a
Is
lot of
run the
things.
floor. He
He run.
runs the floor. He touch. Listen, his whole game is together.
Yeah.
Now we know he's gonna be a lottery pick
Okay. He and
because he can play.
against trying to think who they were playing. It might have been like when they won that tournament out in Port, or I don't know where the hell they were. I mean, he had a dunk uh from did they beat Carol? I'm trying to think who they beat. I mean, he was like 10 feet from the bucket. And he kind of leaned in and
And
dunked it
dunk.
from 10 feet out. I mean,
Listen,
his reach is uncanny.
I saw him play against Florida State,
Yeah. Yes.
and he had a dunk. He tiptoed.
Yeah. I
He
know.
tiptoed the
I
dunk,
know he tiptoed dunks.
and the guy couldn't do nothing about it. The kid from Florida State. I
Yeah.
like watching the Florida State games, man, because every time
Yeah.
I watch it, I think about Leonard
Yeah.
Hamilton, my guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When he was at Kentucky, he recruited me
Oh
at
yeah.
Kentucky when he's there,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
so he's a good
Hey,
dude.
before I let you go, so
Mhm.
I want to wish you well. So you're heading down to
What
your homeland, man. You going down to Riviera Beach?
we're going
Tell me
down to
about that.
Riviera, going down to Riviera Beach, West Palm, man, for a little R&R.
That's awesome.
I get to see some old friends, my brothers. I get to go eat some places that I love to eat at when I'm in Florida.
Yeah.
And so, listen, it's gonna be a good time, man.
So when you get down there with your guys, what do you talk about?
Sports. We talk about
No.
sports on the regular because a lot of my friends, like I have friends that went to Iowa State, Iowa, that lives in Florida. Todd Mitchell now, who
Oh,
used
for
to live up
Purdue.
here from
Yeah.
Purdue, he lives in Florida now. And so, listen, we just talk about sports, man. That's the best part about all of this. We get to talk
Wow.
about sports and reminisce on all the old times.
You reminisce about your playing days?
Oh yeah, we talk about our playing days. And if you know anything about me, when me and Dennis Hobson and me and
Yeah.
Todd Mitchell talk, we always talk about how we beat them to death. That's what
Yeah.
I always talk about
Yeah.
because they were in school when we won the two Big Ten titles back to back.
Yeah. You had the upper hand
Right,
in
I have
that.
the upper hand. And so
Yeah.
after we beat Ohio State this year in football for
Yeah.
the second time,
Yeah.
I must say Dennis Hobson called me back after the game. Last year, I hadn't heard from him for about 6 months.
He didn't
So
pick up.
this year he called,
Picked
he
up.
texted me. He texted me and he said, Rich, I can't say anything. Y'all beat our butts. And I
Yeah.
said, you know what,
Wow.
Dennis? We did. We beat y'all
That's
pretty
for an
good.
Ohio State guy to do that to a Michigan guy.
Yes.
Wow.
Because Tom, he had put on Facebook, he said, I want all my Ohio State fans to get me some crying towels for my
Ooh.
friends Rich Rellford and Antoine Jobert.
Oh my. So he had it coming, man.
Oh, and he put it on my page. And I
Oh
said,
man. He
oh,
tagged you on
okay.
your out.
He tagged
Wow.
me. He tagged me, Tom. And so, listen, all my Michigan friends made sure they tagged me because he's on my page. They made
Yeah.
sure they chimed
Yeah.
in.
You
So
put
I
it out
loved
there.
every minute of it,
That's
man.
ballsy to do that, man. I mean, that's
Listen,
great. That's great but if your team lets you down, man, watch out.
and that's exactly what happened. So he got that. So, but it's good, man. Everything is good, Tom.
All right, Rich. Well, I want you to wish you safe travels down
Thank
to
you.
South Florida, and when you get back, we'll pick up on this Michigan basketball team. Hopefully, with a Big Ten win over Minnesota and a couple non-conference to get this show on the road, get this back to
Sounds good,
normal.
man.
All
I'm
right.
loving it. Go blue,
All the
baby.
best to you, Rich. Go blue.
Thank you.